everybody, I'm Missi Matthews. Welcome to the Matchup Show presented by POWERHOME Solar. The Steelers are getting ready for another primetime game, heading to Cincinnati to face the 2-10-1 Bengals. Let's introduce you to our panel to discuss all things about Monday night. Mike Prisuta from the DVE Morning Show and also Steelers.com. Greg Wolfley, former Steelers great, joining us, as well as Matt Williamson from Steelers Nation Radio. All right, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers before we get into this matchup. Of course, a lot of things after two losses that there is to discuss. One of them is physicality. We heard it starting on Tuesday with Coach Tomlin. It has trickled throughout the week with all of the players. Here today is what Keith Butler, the Steelers defensive coordinator, had to say about it.
I think it's something your mom and daddy give you. I don't know if you can teach that. You know what I'm saying? What happens this time of year, and what has happened to us this time of year is we had those three ball games within, 11, 12 days, something like that. And you play football, your body has to have some time to rest and to heal and stuff like that. And I think I've never worried about our defense being physical because I think that they have been. I'm always trending towards the people I like on defense are the people that's going to hit you.
All right, Pursuit, I'm not going to hit you here, but you heard what Keith Butler said there. How do the Steelers get back to that physical brand of football that we saw, especially during that 11-game streak where they were winning games?
Well, boy, hopefully just, put on the tape. I agree with Keith Butler. That comes from your mama and your papa. If you've made it this far, you know that physicality is part of the deal in the NFL. Mike Tomlin said they watched the tape and then they were going to address it in practice this week. This goes way beyond both lines getting pushed around, which I think both lines did get pushed around. If you go back to that Buffalo game, I believe it was the first third down of the game. Chase Claypool gets knocked to the ground by Tre'Davious White, who's in press coverage, and just gives him a shot to the shoulder pads. I mean, that can't happen. That's 5'9", $190, knocking down 6'4", 230. Minka Fitzpatrick comes flying up on Stephon Diggs and bumps into him, but doesn't wrap him up, tackle him, or knock him down, and Diggs just runs for 17 more yards. There are examples like that all over the field. They just got to get back to doing what they do. They didn't do it often enough in Buffalo. I don't think there's a drill for that. You either have that in you or you don't. I think these guys have it in them. They just need to be reminded what to do with it.
All right, Wolf, I know, as Pursuta pointed out, it's not just the O-line and the D-line as some people think when you say not being physical enough. But for you, I'm assuming you want them in pads every day. You want them pushing cars. How do the Steelers get more physical, especially against a Bengals team that this is a game they should win and also need to win?
Well, there's no question about it, Missy, and it just really starts simply with the acknowledgement. Keith talked about it. You put the tape on. Mike T talked about it. You talk about it, you acknowledge it. We had key buzzwords like Chuck Noll, back to basics. Oh, you heard back to basics. You knew there was going to be a heck of a bad week coming up. And that heck of a bad week would start off for the first time, maybe on a Wednesday. And it would usually start off with a big bang somewhere. I don't know, maybe Joe Green lights somebody up, Dirt Winston, Jack Lambert, somebody would light somebody up, then somebody would come back and light up one of those guys. And before you knew it, it culminated usually in a few fisticuffs, that sort of thing. Look, the big thing about it is, it's about taking that dog out of you. Each player's got some. You don't get to the NFL without having a little dog in you. You got to be able to muster that thing and point it in the right direction and make that thing go down that narrow strip and stay between the white lines. And when you hit game day, you want to make sure that you are playing with that physicality. Now, if you had to take, maybe some pads out, and you had to do a little extra work afterwards if you're not in pads, I would have done that. Many times, Tunchilkin and I or whoever, you'd give one-on-ones, be working with guys. Even after practice, you might do some extra one-on-ones. Anything that will put you into that state of mind and give you that opportunity to work on your technique. You can do that in a controlled fashion. It doesn't have to necessarily be one of those things that ends up in a violation of rule number 6, thou shalt not fight thy teammate.
All right, Matt, I want to throw at you a fan question. We did ask for them for today's show, and this one kind of going along the lines of what Prisuta was talking about with the Steelers wide receiver. It is from our friend Rose. She wants to know, how can the receivers overcome the physicality that the Bills secondary succeeded with on Sunday night?
Good question, and I think there's a couple themes here this week, and you can point to several weeks throughout the course of a Steelers season where you can just kind of feel that trickle down from the head coach to the coordinators to the coaches to even the quarterback talking this week about physicality, and that ignites something that Kevin Colbert and this front office look for in all players, including the wide receivers: toughness, physicality. They stress that more than most teams in the league. As for the receiver position specifically, they've struggled against man coverage of lately, and I think a lot of teams are putting a lot of people near the line of scrimmage, beating them up right at the snap. And some of that's not necessarily a toughness or a pad level thing. It's technique and learning how to get off those presses with hand usage and things like that. And this is a young wide receiver room. I think that's something they need to work on a little bit. But to Wolf's point too, maybe they could also take a page out of Hines Ward's book in terms of blocking or putting somebody on their back when they get the opportunity.
All right, I'm sure you guys are not surprised. We're going to talk about the Steelers' run game or lack thereof. We do have a fan question to kick off this part of the discussion. It is from One Way. In regards to the running game struggles, do you think it's more lack of execution or commitment? Prisuta?
Yes.
Both?
Yes.
All of the above? ABC?
It's lack of execution. It's lack of commitment. I don't know if it's fixable at this point of the year. Our buddy Merrill Hodge keeps telling me it is. I keep waiting. I think you have to run a little bit. You can't just throw every down. But I think, at least from where I'm sitting, by now I think I know who the Steelers are. They're a passing team. The run can maybe be a compliment, but if they're trying to get to the point where they can run for $160, $180 a game, I think they're working in the wrong direction. I'd work more on catching the ball and just try to run for what I could when I could.
All right, Wolf, I know you agree with Merrill in this, that the Steelers did take a tiny step forward in this area in the loss to Buffalo. So go ahead and maybe tell Prisuta what your thoughts are.
Usually they're very infrequent and non-substantial. But my thoughts concerning this whole thing is real simple. You know, if you put on the tape of that Buffalo game, there were some things that made you like go, I see a little bit of glimpse of maybe a little spark in the run game. Now, I'm not talking about anybody ripping off a 50-yard run or anything like that. But if you put on the tape and you see a double team where you saw Dave DeCastro and Chooks take a guy off the ball a couple of yards, okay? You saw Marquise Pouncey take A.J. Klein 5 yards back. You saw different moments where you saw a spark of people moving people and getting hats on hats, making sure nobody's running through the line and actually getting a trap that takes and kicks a guy out on the end of the line. There were sparks of that. You got to build on that, and just like little embers in a fire, you got to build it up a little bit more. But I was glad to see it. They got in pads on Friday. A little bit of pad work all of a sudden lets you know you got to lower those pad levels, make sure that you got good body leverage, and a little bit of that pad work on Friday showed up when they went to Buffalo.
Okay, Matt, break the tie for us. Where do you stand on this issue?
Yeah, Wolf mentioned pad level, and I meant to bring that up with our last topic, that this looks like a fatigued football team to me, and it shows in their pad level, their explosion off the ball. I expect that to be corrected with a full week and an extra day even on Monday night, and I'll be a little shocked if they don't get off the ball with a little more pop and better pad level. The one thing I think they need to do, and I mentioned this before too, is you're seeing a lot of defensive players very close to the line of scrimmage, and much like we did last year. And no matter what, you're not going to have enough blockers to take care of those guys. And the only way to change that to me is threaten the intermediate and deeper areas of the field in the passing game. You need to back those guys off the line of scrimmage. The passing game has become too predictable as well. And when they take deep shots, they're always go routes to Ben's right. They need to attack more blades of grass. There's a lot of area of the field they're just not throwing the ball at right now. They need to back people off the line of scrimmage.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will have much more coming up right here on the Matchup Show. Don't go anywhere.
The Steelers official mobile app is your window into your favorite team. Behind-the-scenes access.
Oh, man, he is just running so hard.
Live audio, including game broadcasts.
That's what you call smart football.
Statistics. Press conferences and interviews. And Steelers Nation Unite exclusive access and benefits. That's all in the Steelers official mobile app. Download it for free today.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Matchup Show presented by POWERHOME Solar. Let's talk a little Steelers and Bengals Monday Night Football. Prisuta, in your opinion, what needs to happen to make you have positive vibes, to feel the arrow is pointed up for the Steelers coming out of this game?
Catch the football. I hate to oversimplify, but, man, I respect your point about the defenses coming up, but I still think there have been plays that could have and should have been made the last couple 3 weeks, and it's amazing how different this would look if, say, they hadn't have gone 1 for 10 on third down against Buffalo, and the amount of mistakes that led to that. Just catch the ball, and then my other key would be don't give the Bengals anything like, I don't know, a pick six in the last minute of the first half, because Cincinnati has been stuck in the mud since Joe Burrow got hurt. They are going to have a very difficult time scoring if you don't put it on a tee for them.
All right, well, if I want to throw you a fan question, this one is from Jeff. He wants to know, what concerns you more, the injuries piling up or the inability of the Steelers to run the ball?
Oh, definitely the inability to run the ball. I come from the dark ages, the medieval times of the NFL. Orcs and elves and all those things ran around in the Middle Earth and that sort of thing. But, the running game was built in those time frames, and it still is prevalent today and can be used today. Now, I understand it's not going to be the weapon that it once was, but you certainly can still build upon it. And I really think that physicality starts with a state of mind. It's about being who you are and the statement of who you are. If anybody's got any question about that, go back to the very first play of the Bills game. What happened? Tyler Matakevich, a former Steeler, ran down the field, and what did he do? He lit up Ray McLeod, and it was a big hit, and that set the tone. Physicality is the big thing. Running game it's really a state of mind. You got to be ready to do it.
Matt, you mentioned in the earlier segment, with so little time and so many games clogged in, it felt like the Steelers were a little bit fatigued. Are the injuries, though, starting to creep in and really matter at this point?
Of course, but they're not alone. I mean, the NFL is a war of attrition. People are falling left and right. This year with the COVID situation, it's even more rocky and unpredictable. I will say the offensive line situation in terms of injuries has me concerned, that I feel like they can't afford one more, that they're at that point where they're at that line where they can't handle another. On defense, you're not going to get Bud and Bush back. I mean, but I think they've done an okay job of handling that and coming up with some substitutions. But this week you get Hayden and you get Vince Williams back. I mean, there's teams in a lot worse situations than the Steelers with injuries. So I think a nice long week will help quite a bit with the energy level, the pad level, all those type of things. And injuries are sort of a luck thing. Hopefully they go their way down the stretch here.
All right, we're going to take one more break here on the Matchup Show. When we return, we'll get your keys to the game. We'll be right back.
The Steelers official mobile app is your window into your favorite team. Behind-the-scenes access.
Oh, man, he is just running so hard.
Live audio, including game broadcasts.
That's what you call smart football.
Statistics, press conferences and interviews, and Steelers Nation Unite exclusive access and benefits. That's all in the Steelers official mobile app. Download it for free today.
All right. right, everybody, it is time now for our keys to the game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. All right, we're going to switch up the order. Matt, you get to go first. Give us your key to the game for Steelers at Bengals on Monday night.
I have very slight concerns that the Cincinnati special teams, which has been really good the last 2 years under their new coach, could have a big play or two in their favor. But as Mike mentioned earlier, I don't think Cincinnati's offense is capable of moving the football in this game, and so they're not going to put up a lot of points, in my opinion. So the key to the game to me is this week of preparation for the Steelers, how they've handled their practice week, their rest, a little bit of getting back to normalcy and getting their bodies right, not only for this game, but for the home stretch here in the playoffs.
Okay, Wolf, give us your key.
It's simple. Be physical. You catch the ball, be physical. You run the ball, be physical. If you're blocking, be physical. If you're tackling, be physical. Whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing it in a physical way to the snap, from the snap, I should say, to the whistle, and be very physical. Any other questions are settled if you're going to be physical.
Prisuta, what's your key?
Yeah, I'll just pile on Wolf there a little bit. Just say urgency. Cam Hayward cited that this week. I mentioned catch the ball and, don't give the Bengals any easy gift touchdowns a moment ago. But sense of urgency in practice, as Matt alluded to, when you get to the stadium with the lights on, as Wolf alluded to. Cam Hayward said something really interesting to me, or not to me. He was speaking to everybody. It was interesting to me that he referenced some guys might kind of lull themselves to sleep a little bit and say it's only a couple of losses. Enough. This has got to stop now. They're going to be in the postseason. It's very likely they're going to win the division. But what are they going to do when they get there? How ready are they going to be when they get to the postseason? Start working toward that Monday. Actually, I hope they started at the outset of this week, but I hope it starts really showing up on Monday night.
All right, well, I just want to tell all of you, I'm very proud of you. No one mentioned the Escalooser at all during the show, not once, which I'm shocked.
I was really hoping to be the first one. I was waiting for my moment, but
you missed
I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm not going to see it Monday night.
Yeah.
One of those landmarks, like, when you're driving around in New York and you see the Empire State Building, driving into Cincinnati and see the Escalooser I'm going to miss it.
All right. Well, no one's going to miss us because we're going to end it here for the matchup show. Thanks to Prisuta, Wolf, and Williamson for joining me today. Have a great night, everybody. Steelers and Bengals Monday night.